Let's learn about laws related to torture and medico-legal issues with practice MCQs. Learning outcomes: define the term torture, laws in Sri Lanka related to torture, common methods, medico-legal important aspects, and sequelae upon inflicting of torture. As per the introduction, torture is considered the most inhuman form of punishment in the human nature. Forensic practitioners should be aware of common forms of torture, their clinical presentation, and their after effects as well. Torture is a known phenomenon at present or during the past as well, and also it should be an intentional act to be considered the particular act as a torture. It's a well-recognized violation of human rights. How to define the term torture? It is a deliberate, systematic or wanton. So wanton means very malicious. Infliction of physical or mental suffering on a person by another person, often acting under authority to get information, punishment, coercion or intimidation. Now you can understand there are certain keywords that we have to understand, right? It should be deliberate, systematic or very malicious, inflicting on somebody by the authority of another person to get certain information, punishment, coercion or intimidation. What is the legal framework in our country to prohibit torture? There are two principal things that you have to know. The first one is the Torture Act. Now, the Torture Act was actually came into enforceable under the United Nations Convention Against Torture. If you can remember that the Torture Act number 22 of 1994, it's more than enough. The numbers are not necessary. Torture Act is more than enough. The second part is constitutional protection under the Article 11 of Sri Lanka. Our supreme law is the constitutional law, and also it is the foundational rule book to our country. It prohibits torture absolutely, and there is no way to have any exceptions for torture. That's why it is termed as non-derogable fundamental right. Now moving on to the methods of torture. There are lots of methods, but here I have mentioned a few. Could be physical in nature, psychological, asphyxial in type, suspension methods, psychological methods, and also pharmacological methods, and neglect and deprivation as well. Now we are going to just describe important ones one by one. Moving on to the physical torture. Now blunt force trauma is very obvious, right? So here we are not going to describe each and everything. Alright, so blunt force trauma, it is beating with sticks, batons, cables and everything. Now you can leisurely read everything. Here this is the sequelae that one can experience with the torture. And then there are certain specific methods that I am going to explain. Now there is a technique called telephono. That means a person is going to assault one's ears with open hands. It causes a high pressure and also high pressure to cause eardrum perforation, right? So with this there may be tympanic membrane rupture, hearing loss, tinnitus and vertigo. And also this is very famous method, phalanga. That means repeated beating to the soles of feet, causing severe pain, difficulty in walking. And also now with the phalanga, remember there may be chronic pain syndrome and also certain disabilities as well. And also burning and electric torture. Yes, this is very common to have. There are certain productions to have little electric shocks to have maximum pain, leaving no marks. Now you can understand the cruelty of torture, and also sometimes they can use sharp force trauma as well crush injuries, compression of limbs, body parts, and dental torture, they are going to pull teeth, and also at the same time they are going to pull nails as well. And also sexualized physical violence, sometimes they specifically going to assault on genitals, squeezing the testicles, and also intentional trauma to testicles. And they are going, some people tend to close a drawer of a cupboard by putting testicles into the drawer, right? So now you can understand the severity. And also forced strenuous exercises can be considered as some physical methods of torture. Moving on to the sexual torture. Now here, sexual orientation is there. There are so many methods where you can understand sexual humiliation, object insertion, genital trauma, and sexual assault as well, leaving many sequelae there. Inflicting of torture by making asphyxiation, right? So there are certain methods that they are going to use. It could be dry or wet submarino. What do you mean by dry or wet submarino? That means submarino means basically we can think about water, but this is not the exact meaning. If somebody is going to forced immersed in water, immersion is complete in water, we tend to name it as wet submarino. Whereas to that, if only a little amount of water will be poured onto the face, or some kind of dirty water put into a plastic bag, and then it will be put onto the head, right? So this is dry submarino. Now you can understand little bit of water and immersion of water, right? So with this, the person get near drowning. The person is not going to allow in the water for a long time with the difficulty of breathing and unconscious. Quickly they are going to take the person out. And here also it causes hypoxia, the person get panic, and also the important thing is a person can be tortured without leaving any mark. That means the maximum pain without leaving any mark. So this is one of the fundamental point in torture, right? So torturers usually make arrangements not to have external marks as such, but to inflict a lot of pain. And also smothering you can understand, and also strangulation. What do you mean by waterboarding? So this is a method that I can describe like this. A bench is sloped like this, and the person is incapacitated on the bench, and then the person's head is covered with a cloth, and they are going to pour water gradually, that means not a big amount, gradually, to cause asphyxia, right? So with that the person get asphyxiation, and with the pain and everything the person will tell something, right? So to give punishments and also to extract information. So this is called waterboarding. Torturing by suspending people. Now this is a very common method, and what are the outcomes that you can have here? Now these are the outcomes, right? So shoulder dislocation, brachial plexus injury, and also there may be lots of other acute or chronic injuries as well. So what are the common methods? They are going to tie their upper limbs onto the back, and then they are going to hang a person from these hands, right? So you can understand the cruelty. And also upside down, right? So there are many methods, dharma chakra, or likewise there are certain other methods that we are not going to discuss in detail, but you have to know about the sequelae of the suspension torture methods, etc., etc. Psychological torture. Now there are many methods. They are going to threat telling that we are going to kill your family members, or they are going to kill the victim itself, threatening, right? So not going to do, but to have maximum psychological stress, anxiety, fear, hypervigilance, and mock execution. So that means, now imagine the person is made to stand like this and also blindfolded, and a vehicle comes fast, and now he is told that we are going to run over you. So likewise, now make maximum fear with mock execution, and isolation, humiliation, interrogation stress, going to have prolonged question times, and also sleep deprivation. You can understand the severity and what are the outcomes. There may be severe PTSD, panic reactions, long-term psychological trauma, and lots of complications along with memory impairment or anything. Pharmacological torture means they are going to give certain kind of drugs, recreational drugs, alcohol, and etc. So they tend to keep people sedate, or give stimulants to have agitation or cardiovascular strain, to feel about fast heart rate and things, and also toxic substances to cause organ dysfunction and systemic illnesses, and also to cause drug withdrawals as well, to have the maximum pain and suffering. And also sometimes they give laxatives to cause severe diarrhea as well. And finally, to neglect the person or to deprive certain things. No food, no water, no treatments. You can understand the severity of torture methods. Talking about sequelae of torture, it could be acute or chronic, and also it could affect in many contexts. So that means physical or psychological, and also sexual behavior, or there may be a social impact as well. You can understand the severity, right? So physical sequelae I am not going to tell. There may be chronic pain syndrome, fractures, and lots of incapacitated actions, and everything you can understand. And psychological sequelae, post-traumatic stress disorder, as you can understand, anxiety and depressive disorder, memory problems, and emotional instability and social withdrawal as well. Okay, now you can understand. Now when there is a suspected case of torture, now we have to have documented it very carefully. This is very important. For that, now there is a protocol called Istanbul Protocol. This is an international guideline for effective investigation and documentation of torture. If you know this much, this is more than enough. The final part is medico-legal important aspects. The first thing is you have to take a very good history examination of all the fresh injuries, including scars. It is not enough. You have to document everything, and also you have to have the reason, dating, and also a complete description. And then you have to, before examination, take the informed written consent, and also it is necessary to have a chaperone as well. You should refer the victim for necessary specialists such as psychiatrist and also ENT, eye opinion, and etc. for obvious reasons. And patient should be reviewed for delayed appearance of contusion. So this is very important in case of a torture case. Now in case of clinical cases, you know that there may be delayed appearance of contusion. So as a result, if you are going to examine the person today, now you have to advise to the police person who brings the person, or to the patient itself, to come again to review the patient for the delayed appeared contusions. Remember, it's really important. And also development of complications, and also to determine about the categorization of hurt along with the complications and other important findings. And also if you are doing a post-mortem, remember, definitely you have to do special dissection techniques. That means musculoskeletal dissection. If the person is a male victim, You have to do testicular dissection and also hands and feet dissection in addition to the other important aspects. And finally, you practice MCQs regarding torture. Torture is an unintentional act. It's definitely incorrect. It violates human rights, definitely correct. Law regarding the torture is embedded in Civil Procedure Code, definitely incorrect. It is embedded in the Torture Act and also Constitution, Article 11 of Sri Lanka. To obtain information from a serial killer, torture is an exception. No, this is nobody can use torture. All right, so this is an absolute contraindication to torture another. So in this case, it is incorrect. Waterboarding is a form of asphyxial torture that creates sensation of drowning. That's correct, as I have explained you earlier. A person is incapacitated onto a table, and the table is sloped to get his head down and cover his face with a cloth, and they are going to gradually pour water onto the face, causing the features of drowning. But they are right. So now I am going to discuss the other part. Dry submarino involves immersion of the victim in water for prolonged period. No, dry submarino means, that's what I started to discuss earlier. Dry means that they are going to use a little bit of water. In case of wet submarino, the person is going to put into the water and made to have shortness of breath, and quickly they are going to take the person out. Right, so immersion of water. In case of dry submarino, they put little bit of water onto the face and put dirty water onto shopping bags, and they are going to have this bag around his head to cause feeling of drowning or asphyxia. All right. And phalanga involves beating the soles of the feet. Yes, that is the idea of phalanga. Correct. To cause maximum pain, swelling. Phalanga primarily causes injuries to the scalp. No, lower limbs, the feet. Absence of external injuries exclude the possibility of torture. It's definitely incorrect, because there are so many other kinds of torture, right? So deprivation, psychological deprivation of food and everything, and also psychological trauma. Psychological torture cannot be diagnosed. No, it's incorrect, right? So psychologists can diagnose it. Repeated forced telephone calls used to deprive sleep is named as telephono. No, it's incorrect. So telephono means blunt force trauma. That means with open hands they are going to have blows onto the ears, causing eardrum perforation, tinnitus and other symptoms as well. The Istanbul Protocol provides law related to torture. No, it's not law. It is actually a document prepared to have the documentation and proper examination of a suspected victim of torture. Phalanga can lead to difficulty in walking and long-term pain. Yes, definitely correct. Thank you.